Hello, Happy New Year. Welcome to 2022. And hey, thanks for downloading Extra Healthy-ish. This is the perfect way to kickstart your new year. This, of course, is the podcast from Body and Soul, and I'm your host, Felicity Harley. Today, I'm speaking with nutritionist and environmental scientist Sophie Scott. She teaches, and she also develops courses in nutrition at Endeavour College of Natural Health. Now, just before Christmas, she wrote a story for Body and Soul online about the climatarian diet, which went, dare I say, bananas. So I wanted to get her on the pod to talk about it all, to tell us what it is all about and whether what you can eat can help not just your health, but the environment too. Oh yes, you bet it can. Sophie, thank you so much for coming on Extra Healthy-ish. Now, share with us one of your New Year healthy-ish goals.
I used to think it was all about food and exercise. Wrong. Sleep is king. Absolutely. So my New Year's resolution is to set a go-to-bed alarm at 9:15 p.m.
Oh, I like it.
So that's the trick. So I kind of lost that over the Christmas, New Year period. And, you know, you get into a binge state with Netflix. You're like, oh, just one more episode, one more. And then you're like, oops, 11 o'clock. So 9:15, that'll give me enough time to, you know, turn the TV off, brush my teeth, read a bit of book and go to bed. So that's my resolution. That's for me personally. But my bigger goal is I really want to help Aussies sort all the fact from the fiction in nutrition world this year. So I want 2022 to be the year that more Aussies become empowered about their health. So I'm working on some new short courses rolling out Endeavour College. So watch this space.
Oh, I like that. And we'll have to get you on. Okay, I'm all for sorting out the fact and the fiction, or the fad and the fiction and the facts. Anyway, let's talk about the fact that is the climatarian diet is growing in popularity. Let's just recap for those who didn't listen to Healthy-ish. What is this diet exactly?
It's a way of eating that lessens your impact on the earth and specifically the climate. So it's about making wise food choices for the planet. And it's really exciting that by simply changing what we eat, we can have a really big impact on the environment and our planet. And look, we've only got one. We want it to be here for generations and our kids to come. So we can make a real difference by changing what we eat.
And how does it help our health as well? I mean, I think, and the other interesting point, which we talked about in Healthy-ish, it's not just about going all out vegan, which is great for some people, but some people, you know, enjoy dairy in their coffee like me. So talk us through the health benefits of this as well.
So the climatarian diet is a really balanced diet. It's about just reducing your carbon footprint. So it's not about cutting out food groups. It's about taking a more measured approach to food. And the first step is really to look at the amount of food we're eating rather than what we're eating so much is, do we need to eat so much? And a lot of Australians are eating too much. Unfortunately, 2/3 of us are overweight or obese at the moment. So looking at the quantity of food is also a key way to reduce carbon. And then, of course, we're looking at the types of food. So we know that red meat, beef and lamb in particular have the biggest carbon footprint of all the foods. So just reducing those slightly for Australians would be a really good move.
As a nutritionist, what's your advice on knowing whether we overeat or not? Because sometimes I get nervous about saying, you know, we should follow, you know, is it 8,700 kilojoules a day or whatever the average adult should eat? So what's your take on that?
My advice is to not count calories and macronutrients or anything like that, but listen to your body. So it's what we call intuitive eating. Are you hungry? Yes. Eat some food. Are you not hungry? Do you really need to be eating? And also how you're eating. So often we open the pantry door and we're like, oh, we'll just have a few little nibbles here while we work out what we actually want to eat. And by that time, whoops, we've already overeaten. So it is tricky to know, but if you get to be more in tune with your body and actually feel the hunger, then you'll know when it's time to eat.
Actually, it's so true. And I think that conscious consumption of food, I'm particularly like that with breakfast. Like I've got better at knowing, okay, at 8:30, it's breakfast time, but I'm not hungry yet. I'm actually not hungry till 9 a.m. is like more my breakfast time. And that's what my body says, but it's hard to kind of work out, I should eat now because I've got to get going or whatever I need to do for the day. But that's really great advice. Okay, let's get more in depth about some of the ways we can lean into the climatarian diet. You talked about meat. Where are we at in Australia with our consumption of meat, and why is it so damaging to the environment?
We eat a lot of meat. So Aussies eat 95 kilograms per person per year,
wow.
which is huge.
Wow.
It's 3 times the world average. And we're the 6th highest in the world, in fact. So the only countries that eat more than us are the South American countries. So they eat a lot of meat. It's equivalent to eating a large steak every day. So the advice is what we're hearing from the Australian Heart Foundation, the Australian Dietary Guidelines, is that for our health, it's better to reduce that meat consumption. Why? Well, in terms of climate impact, red meat in particular produces a lot of methane, which is a very strong greenhouse gas. And also there's land clearing required there. The good news is Aussies are leaning into this meat reducer diet, which means reducing the meat consumption across the week. So we know research last year indicates that 20% of Aussies are actively reducing the meat in their diet. So this is on top of people who are following a vegan or a vegetarian diet as well. So that's good news.
Good news. So, I mean, meat is important in a diet for things like iron. How can we still make sure we're getting these nutrients?
Well, the beauty of a climatarian diet or flexitarian diet means that it doesn't necessarily eliminate meat. So you can still get the benefits of meat, perhaps having it 1 to 2 times a week. And also research from the Medical Journal of Australia indicates that vegetarians who eat a varied diet are not at any greater risk of having iron deficiency than non-vegetarians. So we're talking having a really good balanced diet: spinach, pumpkin seeds, nuts, legumes, whole grains. And a little trick is to have some foods high in vitamin C with that non-heme or vegetarian iron to aid absorption.
Oh, yeah, that's right. That's a good one. Combining food. Actually, maybe we should get you back on to talk about that. What foods to combine to boost your nutrient intake. Now, sometimes it isn't a matter of turning to faux meat alternatives. Why should we be a bit wary of these as well?
When I saw 4 and 20 release their vegan pie, I thought, yes, this is now officially a trend.
Yes.
Because when you see a classic icon like that, it means that consumers are looking to alternatives for meat. So sometimes these fake meat products can be very, very high in sugar and salt. So a recent George Institute for Global Health report indicates that vegan products can be loaded with salt. And the biggest culprits, bacon and fake sausages.
Oh, I love that word, faken. If you're going and getting a 4 and 20 vegan pie or a meat pie, I mean, the vegan is better for the environment, right?
Yes, it's definitely better for the environment in terms of the greenhouse gas output, for sure. In terms of your health, it would be hard to say, because there could be, depending on the pie and the product, artificial flavours, fillers, binding agents, because meat actually gives food a lot of its taste. And so to make up for that taste, sometimes extra flavours, not all products are like this. This is just a general, what the research is showing. Some of them can be higher in salt than we would like.
We'll be back after this short break with more from Sophie. Can you just quickly remind us how much meat should we be eating a week to, stay in this climatarian kind of zone?
Sure. So generally, 1 to 2 times a week, eat some meat. The Australian Heart Foundation recommends a maximum of 350 grams of red meat per week to protect your heart as well. So the good thing about the climatarian diet is it's good for the planet and it's also good for you.
Yeah, absolutely. Win-win. Now, food waste is another big one that we can take a look at, and an easy way we can all be more conscious consumers and, I suppose, save money. Tell us about the impact food waste has on the environment.
Well, I'm really interested in food waste because it is such an important important issue, actually. The United Nations has suggested that 1/3 of the land used to produce food produces food that's not even eaten. So that really makes me upset.
Wow.
Because I think of all that food that's just going to waste. And people might have seen the War on Waste documentary recently. And that showed in Australia, in Queensland, a lot of our bananas that aren't meeting the cosmetic standards of supermarkets are just landfilled. So that's at the farm end. But then also when we get our food, we throw out a lot. We throw out almost 1 in 5 shopping bags worth of food. And that's nearly $4,000 worth of food per year per household. So what is that exactly? It's all the limp veggies, maybe the fruit that's gone overripe. It's the tins that have gone past their use-by date. So reducing our food waste is a really good way that we can reduce our carbon footprint, but also it can be beneficial for our finances too.
So how can we get better at doing this? Give us some of your top tips.
Well, the top tip is to use the freezer very wisely. So if you see something that's about to go, like some bananas that are super ripe, then straight in the freezer. Peel them first, because I don't know if you've ever tried to peel a frozen banana. It's not fun. Stew them. So if you've got some apples that are looking a bit crinkly, cut them up, put them in the slow cooker. Even juicing foods as well. So that's a really good one to do. Also buying those odd-shaped foods. So all the major supermarkets now have odd-shaped foods, odd bunch. So buying those, who cares if your carrots are a little bit extra twisted or your bananas straight? It doesn't matter. It's all food. One day I'd love to see them all together in one bucket. You know, this is just food. It's not like odd-shaped bananas and normal-shaped bananas. It's just bananas. So there's some good tips. The other tip is also storing your food correctly. So this is something that sometimes is a little bit confusing. You know, sometimes we might just throw all our fruit and veg in the veg container at the bottom of the fridge and hope for the best. But the best way to do it is different foods need to be stored differently. So, for example, if you've got herbs like parsley and coriander, put them in a glass of water in the fridge and they will last for a lot longer. I personally use these really cool cotton bags. They're called swag bags. And I put, you basically just wet them and then you put in like your zucchini, your capsicum, all your veggies. And it keeps it like in that temperate environment so that they don't go off. I don't know. It's magic. I don't know how it works, but
I like that.
It's definitely better than plastic. So, yeah, they're a really good option. Also, you want to keep your fruit, like citrus fruit, in the fridge. So oranges, lemons, things like this, because that will hold the vitamin C a lot longer than if you've kept them out at room temperature. So all these little tricks are really good ideas for people to reduce their food waste and make sure that they're storing food correctly.
Oh, I like those little tips. Okay, I'm off to put my herbs in water. I don't do that, so thank you. Now, what about pesticide consumption in our fruit and veggies? How can we reduce this and just become more mindful of that?
The best way to do this is to start buying some of your food organic. So start with the foods that you eat the skin of. So stone fruits, berries, tomatoes, and then your leafy greens like spinach and kale. They're really good ones to start with. And then also when you do eat meat and dairy, choose organic when you can. Why? Because the toxins can bioaccumulate up the food chain. So we know that that's a really good way to start buying organic, is to buy the meat and dairy. Yes, it can be more expensive if you're buying organic meat, but as we've found out, we need to reduce our meat consumption. So it all balances out and won't change your supermarket shop cost at all. The other one you can do is grow your own. So you know what, during these recent years, ultra urban gardening has become a super trend, and it can be done in any space, any size. It's about using what you have. We've got bespoke lighting now, grow pods, so you don't have to have that spot near the window that gets 8 hours of sun a day. You can still do it.
Yeah, great tip, Sophie. Now, just lastly, what are some fruit and veggies that perhaps we can include in our diet today, tomorrow, that have the least impact on the environment?
Fruit and veggies as a whole group definitely have the least impact. And I like to consider Indigenous foods, so bush tomatoes, desert limes, kakadu plums, because all these kinds of foods are designed to be grown in our climate. So it makes sense that they would do well here, and full of vitamins and minerals. Also choosing foods that are grown in season. So we've got the beauty of Australia is we've got lots of foods all through the year, which is really great. And foods that are particularly low in terms of their carbon emissions would be apples, oranges, broccoli, bananas, potatoes, basically any fruit and veggies. You're right choosing any of them in terms of the climate impact. emissions from plant-based foods can be 50 times less than meat. So it's a significant impact.
Yeah, I like that. And you're right. That's a really good, tip, I suppose, that we do live in a country that is abundant in beautiful fruit and veg. So why aren't we eating them more? Sophie, thank you so much for coming on Extra Healthy-ish.
Thanks for listening.
Well, there you have it. The Climatarian diet actually sounds pretty easy, doesn't it? It's just about eating loads of fresh fruit and veggies, cutting back on your meat and your dairy. And hey, you're not just helping the environment, you are also helping your health too. If you do want more info, I will leave Sophie's link, the story that she wrote about the Climatarian diet, in our episode notes. If you want more from us, make sure you check out other stories, lots of nutrition stories on bodyandsoul.com.au, or you can join the conversation via Body and Soul on Instagram or Facebook. Thanks again for joining us as always. And if you have a moment, we'd be so grateful if you could rate, review, and subscribe to this podcast. And until tomorrow, stay extra healthy-ish.